This is not your normal discussion where we talk about the hard topics uncensored and unfiltered. This is not your normal discussion where we talk about the hard topics uncensored and unfiltered. This is not your normal discussion.
Hi, you guys. Welcome back. Or welcome to Not Your Normal Discussion. I am Queen Pedii.
I'm Nina.
Tryst.
It's your boy Samurai with 2 eyes.
And your boy Kenny.
All right. So we are here to tell you guys about the history and experiences of Juneteenth, honey. Juneteenth. So if you guys don't know what Juneteenth is, it is a federal holiday in the United States that is celebrating the emancipation of enslaved African Americans. It is often observed for celebrating our culture. It originated in Galveston, Texas, and it has been celebrated annually on June 19th in various parts of the United States since 1865. The day was recognized as a federal holiday on June 17, 2021, because of Joe Biden, when he signed it into the National Independence Day law. I'm sorry. Sorry. Juneteenth's commemoration is on the anniversary date of the June 19th, 1865 announcement of General Order Number 3 by Union Army General Gordon Granger, proclaiming freedom for enslaved people in Texas, which was the last state of the Confederacy with institutional slavery, because technically on January 1st, 1863, the Emancipation Proclamation was signed and issued. But Texas wanted to keep their slaves, so they didn't even tell them that they were free, which is a very sad situation. Let's see. Cut out that let's see. Okay. Celebrations date to 1866, at first involving church-centered community gatherings in Texas. They spread across the South and became more commercialized in the 1920s and 1930s, often centering on a food festival. During the civil rights movement of the 1960s, these celebrations were eclipsed by the nonviolent determination to achieve civil rights, but grew in popularity again in the 1970s with a focus on African American freedom and African American arts. Okay. Beginning with Texas by proclamation in 1938 and by legislation in 1979, each U.S. state and the District of Columbia have formally recognized the holiday in some way. I believe ours it was called Emancipation Day, right? Yeah, it's Emancipation Day. We technically celebrated it. Okay. And the holiday is considered the longest running African American holiday and has been called America's second Independence Day. Juneteenth is usually celebrated on the third Saturday in June. Historian Mitch Kachun, I don't know how to pronounce his name, considers that celebrations of the end of slavery have 3 goals: to celebrate, to educate, and to agitate. Early celebrations consisted of baseball, fishing, and rodeos. African Americans were often prohibited from using public facilities for their celebrations, so they were often held at churches or near water. Celebrations were also characterized by elaborate large meals and people wearing their best clothing. So, I think that, this is pretty cool. Pretty cool. And now that it's a federal holiday, I think that, a lot more people will be educated on, slavery, things that we had to go through as African Americans. Anybody want to speak on Juneteenth?
Well, I was gonna say, I hope Juneteenth is used for more education, especially for the youth, because I can only think of like certain things we already know slavery was bad, but the different tiers to not just slavery, but all different types of state level oppressions. And then also just a connection back to like what it was like coming across the Middle Passage in the first place, and like different countries in Africa that like had their own like forms of resistance to not just slavery, but colonialism. I think Juneteenth is a great time to educate ourselves, but educate the children too on so many things. Like when we think of slavery, we just think like, oh, especially for the kids, they just think, oh yeah, niggas were owned for a little bit. But like, niggas were turned into furniture. Niggas were turned into like oils or drink. Niggas were like throwing the babies and shit like that. And we have a greater history beyond just slavery too. I'm not saying, oh, we're all kings and queens, but like there is rich cultures that we still, as children of the diaspora need to connect to. So I think, Black History Month is more so the focus, like historically has been the focus of like different American like entrepreneurs and inventors and civil rights leaders. And we can talk about that too. I think Black History Month is very important, but also Juneteenth is also a great time to connect into the larger conversation of us as children of the diaspora, children of Africa, and what that means for all of us.
Yeah, agreed. I agree. It should do some great good in the future for our kids. But with I don't believe we should have a Black History Month, because the family dealt with it for years. It shouldn't just be just a month of just Black history. It's like we didn't go through a month. Our ancestors didn't go through a month of torture. They went through years, days. So when everybody say, "Oh, let's celebrate Black History Month," it's not like I'm saying like I don't want to celebrate it. I'm just saying I don't think February, which is the shortest month of the year, we celebrate it. And past February, it was a lot of shit that happened that I can't even count, because there was just so much shit during that whole short month that we had. So, I think this it'd be good for the youth who actually wants to learn, who actually get the truth and the most honest answers instead of bullshit, and they believe the bullshit. They actually need to know the facts and the truth about what's going on for our youth. That's what I agree to. But other than that, it's.
It's interesting you say that, because it reminds me of this. I remember back in days when I was on Tumblr, there was somebody who was being racist in somebody's comments and saying, because they were speaking on like Black shit, and the white person was on some Anarchy shit, and they were saying, oh, it's past February, stay in your month, on some stay in your lane shit. And like y'all are so ignorant, y'all don't even realize just how dumb y'all sound when y'all say shit like that, like stay in your month. Like, nigga, everything that's around you was built upon the oppression of either people of color or Black people. And like, not to say any of that should be celebrated, but that should be acknowledged, instead of this thing of like, oh, whites have given us everything. It's like, no, like people were oppressed, and those people that went forge cultures that like have been bit and bought and borrowed, and like have like through every way and obstacle they have pivoted through. And that's like, we are really like that song, Every Nigga is a Star. That shit is real, because like in each of our own ways, we find ways to survive and thrive in this bitch. So that's what needs to be acknowledged and uplifted beyond just Black history.
I don't think they should get rid of Black History Month. Sorry, Kenny, because that's where I learned a lot of my history. Because where I wasn't really raised in America till later. I was mostly raised in like Puerto Rico for 5 years, a couple years in Germany, a couple places in Europe. So by the time I did come back to America, I didn't know. all I knew was I was Hispanic, and that was it. Once my mom got with my dad, that's when I found out more about, like, I didn't know what rap music was or hip hop, or I knew the blackest person I knew was Michael Jackson. That's it. That was it. And I thought he was like a little kid because it took so long for music to get to Germany. So I was finally listening to ABC and Don't Break My Heart. And I was like, oh, mommy, I'm going to marry that boy. Yeah, by the time, yeah, this was in the 90s, so he wasn't a boy. So that's what I'm saying. Like, for me, Black History Month is very important to me and my family, because that's how my kids are learning about their history too. And also, not only that, but like, I didn't know nothing about Juneteenth because that for me wasn't brought up in my school, because I did live in the country, military. It wasn't something. So once I did find out about it, I was like, and I found out like in the last like 3-4 years, like, and that was because there was supposed to be a big protest. Don't go shopping, don't purchase anything unless it's from Black community or Black seller. And I was like, why is everybody making a big deal out of this day or whatever? Because I didn't know what the history was. And the fact that it took over 2 years for everybody to, all the slaves to be not slaves anymore is ridiculous. I mean, and I kind of understand it, but at the same time, it should not have taken that long because, you know, they didn't have cars or anything like that. So it took a couple days to get to the next place you got to go to, but it should not have taken that long. So for me, because I am still learning more about my Black side of my family, because I am, I consider myself more Hispanic than Black. Because I was raised by a Hispanic mother. So I am still learning the history. I am still trying to tap that part of me. It's gonna be a process, it's gonna be a journey. So that's why like some of my views are different than you guys, because I'm trying to see it from not just your point of view, but also from my brown point of view. So, because for me, the most important thing is to see things from two sides and to understand like what is really going on, what's really my views, because I have to share those views with my kids. So I don't want to just jump and be like, nah, I don't want this month, but that month helped me be who I am today. So, and y'all should say thank you to every Black person when you guys make peanut butter jelly sandwich or use any kind of peanut butter, because guess what? If it wasn't for that, bitch, y'all won't have no peanut butter.
You say that for a bunch of shit, from air conditioning to math.
Did
I wasn't saying get rid of it. I'm saying the ancestors been through so much. It's not just a month. It should be
every day.
Yeah, it should be every day. But like for Hispanic month, start in the middle of the month. We don't even. I barely even.
Are you sure?
Yeah, September 15th.
Yeah, September 15th.
I start on the 1st of September and I keep it moving.
So I was like, what? And it's because of it was just actually this year was the 34th year of having Hispanic month. It came into being a law back in September 15, 1988.
Okay, so go ahead, Glenn. I'm not about to play with you, Kenny.
I don't got much to say. I'm not a holiday type person when it comes to any holiday. I just don't got much to say. Fine. I'm anti-holidays. I'm anti-holidays. I don't do any of that stuff. I think it's crap to me because half of them have, not saying this one, but most of them have just other stuff behind it. It's crazy. But I will say it's important on knowing your Black history I will say that it's important that the schools go back to teaching it like they used to. I remember having to sit in a class that taught Black history. I remember having to write the letters that the freedom writers wrote before they got on these buses, not knowing if they were coming home. I remember hearing about the stories. I remember hearing about Emmett Till. Those stuff shaped me to the Black man that I am today. And it's important, even though I'm not one to pull the race card all the time, it's important to know your history and know where you came from, know where blood was shed, just so you can walk outside and not, and not be shameful. So
yeah, that's true. Because some Black people don't even know their history.
Right.
Like I asked them like certain things like Black Panther, first one who rode the bus, back of the bus, simple stuff. And they'd be like, "Oh, I don't know." I'm like, "What you mean you don't?"
Well, a lot of that's on purpose too. Like,
that's a shame.
them schools don't be like, think about it, they're trying to get rid of critical race theory. Not even in schools, but they're trying to even get away from curriculum that even teach anything that would remotely make you critical of the whitewashed history that we're taught. So it's like this thing of trying to veer away from real history to have this myth of exceptionalism and not combat that shit.
And see, and I will say, I'm an old school history guy to the point where, like, even me as a samurai, which a lot of people don't know, I do a lot of research when I came to my stage name. And even with samurais, it wasn't, oh, here's a sword, I'm going to train you how to swing it, and now you're samurai. No, it was, you need to understand how this sword was made. Even if you're not the person who's going to make it, you have to understand the history behind the sword, the history behind what we do before you can even step to even call yourself a samurai, So it's important that we know who we are, what our ancestors are. It's really important.
Yeah. So my mom, she always told us about Juneteenth because she was always telling us the story of how Frederick Douglass was mad at mad at African Americans for celebrating Independence Day. He was like, why are you celebrating this day? You weren't freed. So my mom always told me that, and basically he was like, Juneteenth is basically that day. Yeah, I think it's a great way to make sure that we are still immersed in us and not, I'm not saying that other races we can't be immersed in, but we need to know ourselves more because everybody else know themselves. We hardly know us. A lot of us don't even know where we came from. Thank God I do know where I came from because some of my peoples actually just, came over. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed our Juneteenth special. Also, happy Father's Day to any of the daddies that are watching this. And happy Father's Day, Kendrick.
Bunch around, but maybe hear you.
You said what?
I'm around. Thank you.
Father's Day.
Yeah.
He said, yeah.
I love it.
He wants to be in a man cave left alone for Father's Day.
Yeah. We're gonna leave him. We're gonna leave him in this man cave chair. All right. But we will see you guys in the next one. Bye. What kind?
This is not your normal session.